One of the big stories certainly we're tracking for you this Monday morning. The state capture inquiry is waiting for the arrival of former President Jacob Zuma this morning for what is expected to be an interesting week, to say the least, at the Commission. But the former president has publicly stated that he has no intention of appearing at the Commission in defiance of a constitutional court order that he is legally obligated to do so. Now, the MKMVA has vowed to deploy members at Nkandla to protect Zuma. For more on the story, we're across now to our reporter Bonga Dlane, who is in fact in Nkandla outside the former president's homestead. Bonga, you've been spending the morning speaking to various members of the MKMVA, just in terms of what they're saying about protecting the former president should he be arrested. What form might that protection take?
Well, Michelle, that's the big question, because at the end of the day, if the president doesn't come or doesn't go in front of the commission, he is basically violating the order issued by the Constitutional Court, compelling him, ordering him to go and appear in front of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and basically give his state of the side, or his side of the story, as he likes to call it, about the people who have basically pointed to him as one of the architects of state capture. But one of the people here, Michelle, I think who give us more of an idea is Mduduzi Mkhize. He says he's a commander in the MKMVA. Mr. Mkhize, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time. Personally, why are you here?
Yeah, we're here to see ukuthi ikhona ni justice kulabantu abazobeza kumsholozi. Ngoba esikuthola sithola ukuthi kunenkulumo ukuthi uPresident Jacob Zuma akafuni ngenkantolo. Akuyona inkantolo yakuyona. Uya ku commission. U-commission unelungelo lokuthi uma ngabe ngaphathekile kahle angayi kuyona commission. Akekho ozomphoqa ukuthi aye kuyona. Njengoba silana size njengama commanders of Umkhonto wesizwe ukuzobheka lokho asizanga ngempi, akabi impi and akekho sathi kuzoliwa. Kodwa sizobheka ukuthi kukhona ukulungiswa. Njengo-commander in chief wethu, njengo-former president we-country, njengomember we-African National Congress.
Now, Mr. Mkhize, former president uchile uba akazuya kwi-commission, but what if kuthiwa namhlanje ishoshe warrant of arrest, yintoni izimisele uyenza nimeke sure uba amalungelo wakhe nithi aprotective le ndlela nithetha ngayo?
Yabona baba, njengoba silana nje sizokwenza istability kahle lana i-sheriff uma ukuthi yafika ilethe i-data ama-document izofika i-email lapha egate-ini ngoba ila kufanele igcine khona, ayikwazi ukuthi angena emzini enqamalala. Sekuzoba kubona-ke ubaba Zuma noma i-security yakho ukuthi iyavuma yini ukuthi bawamukele ama-document noma bawamukeli. Uma bengawamukeli ama-document kufanele baneliswe yiloko, uma bewamukela baneliswe yiloko. Kodwa any violation abazoyenza ekungeneni ngenkandla, that's where you're going to interfere Umkhonto wesizwe, because isilento esizoyibheka nje basila.
Qaba nje Mr. Mkhize, kokugqibela ndiyabona uba nibanintsi nikhempile apha. Ikhona iprogram ekhoyo for namhlanje?
Namhlanje there are so many people coming, sibalindele izolo sithe sifike ngoba besifuna ukuthi kucace ukuthi sikhona nobaba ayifile esecured ukuthi since akekho ngoba asibazi bofika nini, asazi bofika nini, sohlala until basisibonise kuyadlula. As long as bengafiki sohlala la enkandla ngesikwazi ukuhamba. Iprogram esinayo yiyo le ngishoyo ukuthi sizogcwala la emasangweni abamsholozi, senze sure ukuthi usafe until sihambe. And no one ozom-intimidate abamsholozi ngoba unamalungelo. I-democracy le, izwe le-democracy le.
Mr. Mkhize. Michelle, basically just a brief summary there of what the commander of the MKMVA here in KZN is saying. He's saying that they're here peacefully to ensure that the president's rights are not violated, and that if it should, or when it does, if an arrest warrant is issued and they're still here, they will ensure that they don't enter, because the sheriff of the court can only come as close proximity to the house, but doesn't have the right to go inside the former president's house. And then number 3 is that the Zondo Commission is not a court of law. They cannot compel former President Jacob Zuma to go when he said already that he's not going to go, and that their program of action for today is that they'll camp here to ensure that the former president's rights are not violated in any way, Michelle. So that's, you have the crux of the story there. People from the MKMVA basically saying that they will be here laying their bodies on the line to ensure that what they call is a violation of the former president's rights is not carried out, because they believe that the Zondo Commission has an agenda against him.
And of course, Bonga, just for clarity's sake, it is in fact the highest court in the land, the constitutional court, that has compelled the former president to appear at the state capture inquiry. But of course, we've got the story covered for you from all angles this morning. Bonga Dlane live to us there from Nkandla. Tumali Motladi, you're live to us from the venue, the state capture inquiry venue in Johannesburg. Analysts calling it a big day for not only the state capture inquiry, but also for the constitution of the country and for the ANC as well.
A very big day indeed, Michelle. And I can tell you that in the last about 20 minutes, there certainly has been a remarkable increase in terms of the security, state security, police presence that is here outside the Zondo Commission of Inquiry's chambers, where it's held here in Johannesburg. Now, it certainly is a big day, as you pointed out, Michelle, because all eyes will be on whether former President Jacob Zuma will turn up or if he won't. And just to give us more perspective on what we can expect and what this means for him legally if he doesn't turn up, I am joined now by legal expert and attorney at law, Mr. Benedict Phiri. Mr. Phiri, what happens if former President Jacob Zuma doesn't turn up today?
If the president doesn't arrive today, the avenues that the commission has been pursuing will still be open to it. So in other words, they will have the ability to approach the Constitutional Court again to have him declared in contempt of court, and also will be able to pursue avenues under the Commissions Act, because there's some offences that are created by him not being here as a result of that.
And in terms of the Commissions Act, Mr. Phiri, it was reported that if he doesn't adhere to the subpoena for him to appear here, he could be fined, because the Commissions Act is based on a law that was set up years before the democratic dispensation. Can you give us some clarity on this? If he doesn't turn up, what then?
Yes, certainly under the Commissions Act, he certainly is liable for a fine. I can't remember the amount, but it was in pounds. That's how old the statute was, and up to 6 months imprisonment. But that also means that the Commission has to initiate processes to give effect to the Commissions Act. There is the other alternative of the Commission approaching the Constitutional Court and requesting that he be declared in contempt of court, and the Constitutional Court then fashion what an appropriate punitive measure would be around that.
Given the fact that Mr. Zuma has put reasons as to why he has missed several dates to submit affidavits, including ill health and so forth, and looking at his age, the question on many people's lips is, if he defies and continues to defy the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, are we likely to see the former president of the country in handcuffs, being dragged to court or being sent to jail?
I'm not sure if we're likely to see that, because I think what is happening is really somewhat of a deepening of a constitutional crisis, and by that I mean a situation which the law might not necessarily be able to adequately deal with. And it's very clear that the former president is really testing the boundaries and limits and authority of the law in this respect. So I'm not sure what that would mean from a practical perspective, and whether the other arms of government, the prosecuting authority and the police will take over from here. I'm not sure whether that will happen as a political matter, but certainly as a legal matter, it is what should happen. Yes.
And finally, and very quickly, Mr. Phiri, what happens in terms of the Commission's final report? We know that Commission has requested and been granted an extension to its work, but without the testimony of former President Jacob Zuma, will the final report of the Commission be complete, or will the Commission's work just basically have come to nothing without the man who's being implicated in many, many testimonies coming to answer for himself?
I certainly think that the Deputy Chief Justice has enough to make to put his report together and make some recommendations. I think there will be a big gap around what the former president had to say for himself, but certainly there is enough from what has been shared by the many witnesses to paint a picture of what the former president's accountability while he was in office would have been like, or what he needs to account for, rather. I think the Deputy Chief Justice certainly has enough to paint a very compelling picture without the former president having spoken for himself.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Benedict Phiri, just painting a picture for us, Michelle, about what happens should former President Jacob Zuma not pitch up to give evidence here before the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. Of course, all eyes will be on whether the Commission will give the former president the option, as some witnesses have, because he has put forward reasons, including his age and the fact that he is of poor health and that he's concerned about, coming out here to the Commission, that if they will give him an opportunity to testify via video link, as they've done to many witnesses. We saw that in the last few weeks, how the video link has been used quite effectively for those who cannot physically be here at the Commission of Inquiry chambers.
And of
Back
course,
to you in the studio.
Yeah, Tumala, of course, we don't know whether that is something the former president is willing to do. There certainly was no mention of that in that lengthy statement he released just some weeks ago.
Yes, absolutely. This is an option that is being put to him, and whether or not there is a willingness, we know that Jacob Zuma Foundation has already released a statement saying that former President Jacob Zuma is not interested in participating or being part of the Commission of Inquiry and giving his evidence and answering to the many allegations that people have implicated him in very serious undermining of state organs to ensure that they are effectively looted. So this is the dilemma. We're not sure what will happen, but those options are available to him should he decide to take them up. So this is just the Commission of Inquiry trying to give him an opportunity to put his side of the story across. And we do know that in the past, Advocate Paul Pretorius has been very critical of the former President Jacob Zuma. That's the evidence leader here at the Commission of Inquiry. Very critical that the Commission of Inquiry has at every turn tried to accommodate the former president. And in terms of even submitting affidavits, according to the evidence leader, Mr. Paul Pretorius, Advocate Paul Pretorius, former President Jacob Zuma has failed to do even that. And according to the evidence leader, that shows a certain contempt towards the Commission of Inquiry and its work. So that's really how we find this day being framed, because as you can see behind me, if I can just step out of shot, the security presence keeps increasing, and we are not sure if former President Jacob Zuma's supporters will come out in their numbers, but certainly the law enforcement side of things not taking any chances, Michelle. Officers on standby and on high alert to make sure that there is certainly no unruly behavior here.
Jamali Mohlade, thanks very much for that update as we continue to track the story for you. He joins us live from outside the Commission's headquarters in Johannesburg. Bonga Dulane is live to us there from Nkandla.